Hello, you're watching the Cloud Native Telco Summit, part of our year-round DSP Leaders coverage. I'm Guy Daniels, and in today's second panel discussion, we will be looking at the Cloud Native Telco commitment. We're going to close this year's summit by looking at what it takes to become cloud native. For those telcos still unsure about making the commitment, what will persuade them? Who can they turn to for help? And will this transformation be disruptive to their operations? Well, to answer these questions, I am pleased to say that joining us on the program are Velarde Tazón, who is Head of Cloud and Infrastructure, Global IT CTIO at Telefónica. Taiman, who is Client Principal, Global Telco Practice at Dell Technologies. Warren Bayek, Vice President Technology with Wind River. And Grant Lenahan, Partner and Principal Analyst with Appledore Research. Hello everyone, it is good to see you all. Thanks so much for taking part today. Now, for those telcos who are still wavering in their decision or who still need to convince their executive management team, why is a move to cloud native absolutely essential? And Grant, let me come to you first because, you get an overview of this across the whole industry. What's your reasoning why this is important?
Well, that's perfect because we have a lot of experts on this panel that can pick up on some of the points I'll sort of overview right now. But I think what's really important is to realize this is not a technology decision. It's not, do I operate cloud native or not? It has implications on your supplier choices, the efficiency of your operations and upgrades, how you can introduce new technology into the network, and something that lots of companies don't think about, which is business opportunities, because cloud native is really essential for a disaggregated radio network. And disaggregated 5G is very likely going to be a critical component to introducing new capabilities and features as we venture from pretty straightforward communications into these digital ecosystems with digital service chains that we don't fully know what they're going to be yet. When you're disaggregated, you can insert things, you can pick the most flexible technology in any one area. And so, again, my big thought is, yes, consider that cloud native will allow you to upgrade better, that operationally. Yes, recognize that it will give you a great set of flexibility in suppliers, but most importantly, recognize it may have an impact, on your revenue opportunities, because that's why we're all in business.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Grant. And as you say, it's not just about technology. Cloud native involves so much more than that. Lewis, as our operator representative on the panel, what's your thoughts? Why is a move to cloud native absolutely essential?
Yes, I agree. It is about new services and capabilities. So the coming of 5G and edge technologies introduces new services, and the demand from customers will evolve. They will be requesting more individualized and on-demand applications, so that the end users are serviced wherever they are, whenever they need, and with the specific characteristics for their individual unique use case. So we have now new requirements for the proximity to the end user and the dynamic provisioning for these applications. So we need to have a more distributed architecture and an autonomous network, because we need to be more agile and flexible, being capable of deploying applications on demand to serve these customers and scaling when needed. So we need to adapt our existing architecture. That right now we have a few big data centers, massive data centers, and we have to move and expand this into a topology of many smaller distributed sites. And it is in here where we enter with cloud native, because in this multi-site environment, the software running the applications needs to be always deployed in the right site. And this may involve moving one application from one virtualization site to another, or from one technology provider to a different one. And this could be required for different reasons, economical, technical, or to optimize the sharing of resources between applications. And it is in here where cloud native becomes a must, because this moving capability that will allow the new services to be provided to customers can only be achieved with an architecture that promotes this portability, as it is the use of containers, Kubernetes, and in general, the open source solutions that embrace the cloud native principles.
Yeah, thanks very much, Lewis. It's a compelling argument there. Warren, what are your thoughts on this subject?
So I'd agree with everything I've heard today, and I'll add a few things. That part of the decision to be made now is it the right move now? Why now? And I think it's starting to be proven, right, in actual deployments, that in a cloud native architecture and deployment scenarios, we're operating on par now. KPIs from Vodafone have proven it. Verizon has a massively scaled virtual 5G network. So it's been proven that this works and that it does meet the same KPIs as current mass solutions. And while TCO is a big driver for this, it's not the major driver, but we do have to be on par with current solutions with TCO, which we've also proven in actual deployments, reaching the same TCO levels as legacy deployments. The things that were brought up in terms of future services and future abilities to do things like operate together with interesting new applications that can create energy savings, for instance, that sort of technology and those sorts of collaborations requires this distributed environment. It requires this cloud native approach. So as was just mentioned, applications can be moved around to the proper places in the edge to perform at the optimal level. And if we're going to reach the kind of cost savings and the energy savings and the service capabilities that 5G and future G promise, you have to be a cloud native solution. If you're satisfied with current models and current ARPU, which isn't improving, if you don't find a way to add services, then maybe you don't need to use cloud native. But I think it's essential if you want to partake as a telco, as a CSP, in the capabilities of increasing customer experience and decreasing energy efficiency and increasing network sustainability and network capabilities, you have to be cloud native.
Yeah, thanks very much indeed, Warren. And we heard earlier in the summit about this linkage between cloud native, 5G SA and Open RAN as well. Let me ask a follow-up question then. And Leon, let me put this to you first, because what's the alternative? Is there one? Can a telco survive and grow without having a commitment to adopting cloud native?
I don't believe so. I think cloud native and the journey, a measured transformation towards cloud native is table stakes for the telecommunication service providers. And we've already discussed the reasons why, right? It is a competitive environment. There's just disruption everywhere. And we must take advantage of cloud native technologies to be able to generate new revenue streams, as well as lower the overall TCO. And if we take a step back and look at what's happened in the other industries, whether it's financial services, retail, oil and gas, manufacturing, most of our other customers have embraced cloud native technologies to accelerate digital transformation so that they can become a digital business and embrace a cloud operating model themselves. So we feel it's table stakes. We feel there's an opportunity to reduce OpEx significantly. We feel there's an opportunity to optimize CapEx, as well as generate new revenue, generate new digital services that will drive new revenue sources for our service provider customers.
Great, thanks, Leon. And Grant, let me come back to you. You outlined earlier, the reasons why cloud native is so important. But is there an alternative? Is there a viable alternative approach?
This will probably not be a politically correct answer, but I think in some niche cases, yes. Let's back up and look back at what we said before. There's really a technology and performance reason for moving to cloud native. There's a revenue and services reason for moving to cloud native, right? And there's an operating reason to move to cloud native. And I know that Wind River and Dell in particular have been working very, very hard on that cloud native operations for upgrades, for example. There are some companies, though, if you're a Verizon, if you're a Telefónica, I don't think there's a question. If you're, a tier 3 mobile operator in a smaller market and you have very limited resources, you really need to ask the question, what can I do and what can't I do? And this is where I'm going to be a little controversial. The first question is, do I virtualize it all, or do I remain with, rather than use the word legacy, with proprietary hardware optimized solutions that are delivered by the big vendors, right? or do I go to a virtualized and ultimately cloud-native environment? If you're going to leave a traditional proprietary environment, I think the worst of all worlds is virtualizing without going to truly cloud-native. And beyond truly cloud-native, to think about all of the automation that needs to go above, the cloud-native infrastructure level to automate operations. So you either want to go all the way to cloud-native, to fully automated, disaggregated, focusing on new services and the best ecosystem possible, or you probably want to stay with the traditional architecture. And to me, anything in the middle is going to fail on all measures.
Yeah, you say controversial there, Grant, but it is a question that comes up occasionally on our cloud native summits about why should I, and especially from the smaller operators, it's a good question to ask, and we should be aware of this. Well, let me go across. I think Lewis, do you want to come in on this one?
Yes. So regarding this, an alternative. There is no much alternative. Of course, we can still be working as we have been working for years with siloed applications, vertical solutions. Virtualization has been used because the isolation of hardware and software was proven a benefit, and it has been used. But typically, the virtualization stack was provided or comes together with the application. So we have had siloed and vertical solutions. But cloud native goes into optimizing the resources and allowing platforms that support different applications where we can move one from the other and optimize the resources that we have. So we can stay as we are, or we can move and use cloud native to improve that and optimize our resources. So there is not really much alternative. We should be moving from siloed solutions to horizontal platforms that allow these requirements of portability and dynamic provisioning that I was commented in the beginning. Cloud native is cloud native technology is the key enabler for this.
Yeah, sure. Thanks very much, Lewis. And Telefónica is certainly practicing what it's preaching here. That's very evident. Warren, let's come across to you next as to whether or not, in some cases, perhaps, there is another approach to take other than cloud native.
I think I sort of agree with that comment. I actually wanted to comment on it. I think an interesting approach for lower tier providers could be to wait and watch, right? Part of what's happening now is this industry is just starting to embrace virtualization, cloud native, Open RAN, and everyone's sort of looking around, watching Verizon, watching Vodafone, the people who are starting to lead the way in this area. So if you're a smaller provider, it may make sense to wait and see until these solutions are more fully developed and the partners come together more so they can offer you essentially an out-of-the-box solution that is cloud native and that does give you a chance to take advantage of all these, all the things we've talked about, the innovation potential, the flexibility, the ability to drive TCO down and save energy. Those things are absolutely going to happen with cloud native, period. There's no debate about that. So it's just a question of when and how these lower tiered providers can play in that realm and take advantage of this. And it could just be a waiting game where they have to wait until the industry, becomes a little more mature. And then the solutions will be a lot easier to adopt, I think. And that could be the approach that they would take. One interesting thing, and we talked about this earlier this summer, as telcos move from CSPs to DSPs, they do have to change their cultural mentality of becoming a more technologically based company. I understand this is not completely a technological solution, but the world is changing. As someone mentioned on the panel, other industries have moved to this cloud native idea. So attracting top talent is going to be harder and harder for telcos if they stay in an old model without adopting cloud native technologies, right? All of the interesting software advances and all of the talent is looking for those sorts of opportunities. So that's another place that maybe isn't talked about as much as, as telcos need to attract top talent. Having a cloud native solution offers a much more attractive space for lead developers and lead engineers and lead technologists.
Yeah, good points. Thanks very much, Warren, for that input. And Leon, let's come across to you to wrap up this question.
Yep. I'd like to add and based on what Grant just said, right? I believe that we can make it simpler for the communication service providers, big or small, to embrace cloud native, right? And what we're doing is developing a horizontal platform with full integration with the cloud vendors, right? Whether it's Red Hat, Wind River, VMware, and make it simpler for our customers to adopt and accelerate cloud native. And they will have to embrace a bimodal IT, as we called it, right? They're going to have the legacy, they're going to have the new, there's going to be a transition plan. And we're seeing that play out across many industries and across many telcos. There is great opportunity with disaggregating the network, but we believe that there's got to be a horizontal platform that aggregates that all those components back together and provides a cloud platform engineered system with lifecycle management that will enable even the smaller operators, tier 2, tier 3s, to accelerate their journey towards cloud native.
Great, thanks very much, Leon. And these comments are leading very nicely into our next question, which is, who can telcos turn to for help with their cloud native commitment? How reliant should they be on key vendor partners, systems integrators or consultants? What can these various groups offer them? Warren, let's start with hearing from you.
Yeah, so this is a great question because telcos are not historically system integrators, right? They've bought a solution from a vendor who does all the work for them, basically gives them a turnkey solution out of the box. So I think it is important in moving to cloud native virtual environments that telcos take advantage of the partnerships that have already been formed, the collaboration of solution providers. Wind River and Dell, as someone mentioned, have worked very closely together to perform a platform and hardware integration. Those sorts of collaborations are absolutely essential. If anything we've learned from our deployment at Verizon over the past few years, it's that the working together of the people who are, the companies who are providing the disparate solutions and the telco are absolutely essential to make the implementation and the rollouts successful. So I think leaning on proven vendors in the space is important. Depending on the telco, the size of the telco and their expertise, system integrators could be, an interesting solution because telcos are not system integrators, right? It's not their sweet spot. It's not what they do as a business case. So why would they want to embrace that and jump full in rather than using folks who have done these system integration capabilities and provided working solutions? So as someone mentioned, the automation capabilities, the automation requirements as we go to cloud native and as we disaggregate the network are absolutely essential, right? Hyper automation is going to be critical for a telco to be successful in this space. So using the proven solutions that perform hyper automation is going to be absolutely essential to them. So that's who they would be turning to, right? The people in this space who have already committed to it, who already understand it, and who have delivered proven solutions. And working together as providers, all the people on this panel and others, working together as an industry is really important. I'll say something a little controversial as well, is that I don't consider my competition who other people might consider it. Red Hat, VMware, other platforms and other providers. The competition is really not doing this, right? The competition is business as usual. So we all have to work together to create an environment where the telcos will have success by giving them the ability to integrate and operate these systems at scale.
Yeah, absolutely, Warren. And we hear so often in our summits the importance of collaboration and openness. So I think you all want to come in on this question. So let me start off by going to Leon.
Thank you, and great comment, right? Because it's all about an open telecom ecosystem, and we have created an open telecom ecosystem lab where we bring all the industry players together, whether it's systems integrators, ISVs and NEP providers, the platform hardware components, the cloud platform components, the accelerators. It is an ecosystem. It is not one company. It is not one digital service provider, communication service provider. It is an ecosystem. And with that, we're able to test and certify and validate integration between those components and automation across all of those components. It is not a simple journey, as many of our CTOs have told us, right? It is not a simple journey, but it is a journey that they must embrace and they must take in steps towards cloud native, an adoption of cloud native technologies. And we feel that an open telecom ecosystem where all the players are together, where we're testing, we're certifying, we're in a common life cycle, will facilitate the adoption of these technologies.
Yeah, and as you say, Leon, it's certainly not a simple journey, this, is it? Lewis, let's come across to you. How reliant should telcos be on all their various partners?
Yeah, I support what has been commented so far. This journey to the cloud native is not easy and requires collaboration, support from different stakeholders. There's many partners involved. On the one hand, the cloud stack providers, because we need them to incorporate the capabilities required by the telco operators for the telco services. There's new things that need to be incorporated there. Acceleration for data plane, for instance, specific security requirements. This has to be incorporated in the cloud native platforms. But on the other hand, the workload applications, so the application providers, need also to participate and think cloud native from the design, because they need to develop their solutions so that they can be deployed in cloud native environments and not be attached to a specific configuration or even a specific hardware. So we need also the support from application providers to become cloud native and move the industry into cloud native world. And we need integrators, of course, because as it has been commented, we need automation. We need to integrate this stack, different stacks with different applications. And we need to manage the additional complexity that comes with a multi-cloud and cloud-native environment. Their operational processes are changing. So we need integrators to help the operators on this. There are right now different initiatives out there to move into this cloud-native world. For instance, the Silva project within the Linux Foundation is an open source program that is trying to build a reference of a cloud-native platform incorporating these capabilities that are needed. And it's also providing a validation program so that application providers can demonstrate that they are cloud-native and can run on top of this reference platform. So we need to all together work in a cooperative way to have this open architecture that we need for the cloud native.
Yes, thanks, Lewis. As you said, there's many players involved in this whole process. Grant, what are your thoughts on the ecosystem and the relationship between everyone?
Yeah, so first of all, I agree with pretty much everything that has been said. I think coming from different perspectives, these are all companies that are working to solve this problem. But I wanted to back up and take a bigger picture view, because over the past few months, it's been interesting because I've released about 5 research notes that all turned out to be related. I didn't know that when I began them, but there was a huge theme that started going through them. And that theme is the need for scale and the need for, like in most industries, you outsource something to high scale specialists. I mean, car companies don't make tires. They don't make screws. They don't make seats. And similarly, what we've seen is a number of things occurring where I think we see our industry recognizing that and moving towards scale. I mean, let's start with a couple of numbers. I'm not going to get this even close to precise, but I think it's going to be order of magnitude accurate that there's probably about 600, 700 CSPs in the world, right, that have some degree of mobile. And what I think we can all say without a shadow of a doubt is redoing significant pieces of the automation, whether it's at the platform level or the application level or the end-to-end network service level, is the wrong answer, right? Spending that money 600 times, what you're going to get is 600 different, probably not particularly complete solutions. So we need to somehow collaborate and scale. We can collaborate through organizations, through 3GPP and other Etsy derivatives in the TM forum, but I think more importantly, we can collaborate through the vendors and, to the points made by both Wind River and Dell, through the ecosystems that are being developed where, yeah, scale is a great thing, but reducing your choices to a number of well-funded, well-collaborating ecosystems, even if there are several, things that you can slip in and slip out of each, is a great thing. I mean, we've recently seen one of the largest 5G vendors in the world say, I'm getting out of the cloud platform business and I'm going to collaborate closely with a company that doesn't happen to be on this panel today. We saw just weeks before I had covered the release of a major public cloud company's telecom-focused entry, where their entire message was on how they were investing in automation, not just at the platform level, but right up to the telecom network application level, trying to do the level of high-level investment that was needed. And, their hope is to provide that to a lot of customers and regain their investment. But I think the key messages that we've heard from all of the panelists are exactly right. And we've got to think about, how do we get scale? How do we get beyond just making it work, but rather making it excel and be more efficient than we've had in the past? In fact, I thought Warren's comment earlier, where he kind of put a clarification on my opinion, where maybe wait and see and let these ecosystems put this together so that it's packaged in low risk and low cost, it is a great perspective on how things might play out.
Yeah, thank you, Grant. As you say, wait and see often works. Often proves to be a very valid strategy. Now, we've just got time for one more question, and I know we've been talking today about how cloud native is not just about the technology, but I'd like to bring this, wrap this up and talk about skills, really, because how much internal knowledge and skills should a telco have if they're going to be truly committed to cloud native? And this point came up at the DSP Leaders World Forum just a few months ago. Do they need to have full internal ownership of their stack and technology, or just more of a, fundamental basic knowledge? Leon, let me put that one to you first and ask you your thoughts about just how much cloud native technical knowledge that telcos need to have in-house.
Yeah, thanks for the question. We were just talking about the fact that the telcos typically are not systems integrators, right? They've relied on the net vendors for a full stack solution for several cycles already. And we've also talked about the fact that there's a lack of skilled folks to come into the workplace. So as our service provider customers look at this cloud native and the opportunity around cloud native, one of their gut reactions is, wait a minute, how am I going to manage and aggregate this disaggregated infrastructure, right, as I'm opening up my network? And so what we're seeing is that they don't have to necessarily hire thousands of engineers, right? What we're trying to do at Dell is simplify the stack, right, by fully integrating a cloud platform engineered system with built-in integration or built-in automation across the stack, so that our customers can focus on the workloads and the applications and pipelining those applications down to the platform so that they can focus on generating new streams of revenue. So it's simplifying that cloud platform stack. It's providing a build, operate, transfer model, just like we did across several other industries as they've gone through the journey towards digital transformation. We believe that those steps will ease that complexity, will accelerate the adoption, and I think very importantly, de-risk this shift in operating model for our customers.
Great. Leon, thanks very much for this. And as we heard several times during our discussion, it's the ecosystem, it's collaboration, it's lean on your partners as well, because there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of pieces to get right for a cloud native telco commitment. Well, we must leave it there. I'm sure we will continue this debate during our live Q&A show later. But for now, thank you all for taking part in our discussion. And if you are watching this on day 3 of our Cloud Native Telco Summit, then please send us your questions and we'll try and answer them in our live Q&A show, which is coming up in just a few minutes. And don't forget to view the other panel discussions and keynote interviews in this year's summit. Here's the agenda for today, and the full schedule of programmes and speakers can be found on the TelecomTV website. Please do take part in our poll if you haven't yet done so, as we will reveal the final results during our live Q&A show. For now though, thanks for watching and goodbye.